Okay, Taco, we have, again, Quanta and Yapko inside the top 10 now. One of the few teams that had a team land directly on top of them and turned it into a great performance. Clix and Vino, of course, being one of the other duos that was notable, that stood out inside that top 10. That is kind of an anomaly, right, for Quanti and Yapko in particular, because they haven't had too much success in the last couple days. So if there's a day that you're gonna do it, right, it might as well be right now, the most important stage of the qualifier.
Or maybe that was Quanti's game plan all along. Give Blaha and Mixin that false sense of security. Nah, I'm just messing. I think that ultimately, though, Quanti, Yapko, Blaha, and Mixin, both of those teams have really put in so much work and effort at studying that drop and just trying to plan how to actually engage their opposition. Veno Clix, team on the same fold here. Roxanne trying to do everything he can to try and escape, but Veno is just closing in. Veno's gonna find that first knock. Clix came through with the backup just in case, but at that point, probably not even necessary. And this is all now just Clix and Veno trying to really, you know, stake their mark on the sandy steps. Roxanne's duo likely still lurking around somewhere. Didn't actually catch wind of where Dax was at, or Clix had managed to eliminate him. So, had to hold that thought for them.
That's exactly how I felt. A team like Clix and Veno, who have this 60 points now, right? They're kind of in that safe zone. They can push pretty freely, just like that. Dive off the high ground. Why play passively? Fight back. And if they secure a couple elims, I mean, that's it. That's just icing on the cake here to really secure the bag. Bucky and Okus, like we talked about, have Groom Gates to themselves. They also have some competition in the vicinity right now. Those folks are trying to, I don't know, play with some of their loot. They're not trying to have it. They're willing to defend what's theirs here at the drop at the moment.
Wow.
Mixin going to old trusty West Side. Okay.
They reverted back. We saw them earlier on this weekend dropping at least once or twice here at the Sandy Strip, reclaiming Villa territory. Probably caught Dolzier and Natmos by complete surprise as well. But so far, without either side having gotten a knock or an elimination on the other, things are relatively even so far, and their biggest threat now could potentially be the third party, but Dolzier is trying to get active right now with his tac pistol and putting a good amount of pressure onto Blaha's shield. A good angle, gets the filleting, another massive tag into Blaha, and Blaha will be the first one to get eliminated. Dolzier and Natmos, part of the advantage of knowing this drop, definitely showcasing right now.
As much of a fan I am of Mixin and Blaha playing, so
dangerous,
crazy, like just, you know, having a strategy, having a backup route, in deliberately deciding to go here for game one, there for game two. I love it, but man, it isn't easy by any means. You're watching the results kind of speak for themselves right there. Landing at different drops game after game can be a double-edged sword for sure. Hades and not Braden, though, are contested here. Again, this is the second time now we're noticing teams kind of take a fight and then just decide, you know what, let's just get out of here. We don't exactly have to finish this battle because we only have 3 games. Why risk it all here? I'm going to put this out there on a limb, but Braids has no idea there's a team in here. And it's Stacks and Encrypted jumping down from the mechanical crane above or the light fixture there, and that's one way to start this fight off. And yeah, they do get the first elimination there, Taco.
Absolutely nasty work taking place. What I believe is Piney Pumps, but Staxaruni Encrypted, I wonder how long they were actually sat in that position.
The whole game.
And they may have been, because for Visuals and Braids, for neither of them to have spotted out Encrypted or Staxaruni initially setting up for that stealth play in the first place, then that was just some really good markers coming out from Stacks and Encrypted. And considering that they typically, like last match, we just saw them contesting Jack and Cease, but we've seen this tactic in the past. As if it's almost as if Noxy and Crisp, they're like, hey, we know that we're having to deal with some bloated surge damage threshold number, so why not inflate it ourselves?
Where's the player camera of Verse here? We need it.
That is dastardly work onto Verse, man. It almost feels like a Mercy elimination now at this point. But Noxie and Crisp are definitely... They've got some nice damage step padding going on after that one.
Hey, let's look at the bright side, you know? Plenty of time to get the reboot card, right? Because they were holding him alive still, so the timer doesn't start until he gets fully finished. Ooh, our first placed Game 1 winners. Chance and, or not Game 1 winners, but Chance and Chaos Gaming here. Broken apart a bit. Chaos is down, but one elimination here, so both sides got their fair share. And this is a whole fresh team here. Mordecai and Rigby jumping in right now.
They've got a pretty big advantage right now, too. 2 versus 1 situation. All Chance wanted was the leftover loot from Chaos Gaming, but might not even be able to escape with the reboot car. Mordecai, Rigby, they're just charging this side by side. They know exactly what kind of pressure they can lay down in this situation, and fortunately for Chance, it seems as though he's going to manage to escape for the time being, but no, it could just be Mordecai, Rigby splitting temporarily, back to back yet again, and Chance just isn't going to be able to hold out much longer. Just way too much pressure when you're dealing with an entirely fresh duo, and even if it had gone in his favor, Zypha and Shore right behind him, and they might be able to do the same to Rigby and Mordecai now. They're just pouncing upon this third-party opportunity.
There's someone else still looking in. Shore just keeping eyes on the case here, but now Zypha doesn't get anything more than what they open with, and they go ahead and back off. Who's this duo to the south right now, though? Creeping up ever so slowly. Now we have Pink and Miro right here. Bucky taking in shots from the Grim Gates direction.
Miro and Pink right now, they've made quick work of trying to loot up around their initial drop over at Charon's Crossing, but Ares and Davries seems like they almost wanted the engagement, but they opted to fall back. Cease, though, no Jack in sight, and Owl and Haju are just gonna chase this one down. They don't even care how much time they have to expend. They want to make it quick, though, but Cease, he's doing everything in his power to try and delay this one, wants to make it look unappealing, and sure enough, Owl, Haju, actually opting to fall back for the time being. I mean, when you're this far north, though, MDF, you don't really want to waste too much time, because you know, with the zone pulling even further south, you're already going to be behind the curve as far as dealing with teams that are already situated in more ideal positioning, because the Slurp Cactuses are going to be a problem with those surge bases surrounding them, and not only that, but just making sure that you get above that damage threshold in the first place.
Yeah, we're seeing Cease's HP just fly up, so I already knew that he was already kind of recovering. I think it's a good call to back off there if you're the duo, but Paco, Vorteca, big fight happening right now. Not looking good here at the Red Line Rig. There's another team third-partying from the outskirts, and then, of course, just a very intense battle head-to-head here, and it's not looking good for Paco right now as the pressure's coming in. This is DKV, one of those duos coming straight out of the lower brackets from yesterday, here to make a showing for themselves, and they're doing just that. They're at a whopping 72 points right now, so really putting up the performances here, showing folks what they have to bring to the competition here. Meanwhile, you have WCJ Sid on top. Sid trying to see what he can find.
Look at the split angle approach, though. Sid on one end, Nerface a completely separate. So they had the front and back covered. It all comes down to who's going to be able to get the opening shot. But Sid, recognizing the fact that DK has split just enough from Ian, this could be the prime opportunity that Sid's been crouching around waiting for. Thinks about it and finally opens up with the shot. Hunter's DMR going to connect for a big 62 here. Nerface still looking to apply even more pressure from that opposite end. They have the height advantage, but at the same time, DK, Ian, they've got enough shield resources to recuperate what was lost there for DK, but it seems as though Nerface and Sid, they're a little bit more intent on just trying to stake out whether or not is this the team that's controlling the Machinist Medallion currently, because that's the big reason why you'd want to be a red line rig in the first place.
Dan Smart right now. And a full head-to-head date, again, jumping into the box of another player. We have just continued to see him be pretty aggressive. Last time it didn't work out too well in his favor as he was under the surge this go around a lot earlier of a battle here in Zone 3. And this is a fight for the Cactus. Very, very interesting fight we see breaking out right there. But that is one way to isolate a team, right? If you know where the Cactus are, you see the base, it's very likely that there's a player or two inside of it. Curly and Raze are Game 1 winners. Actually, playing as a solo right now. WTJ Curly on the move here.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble in paradise. Reckless Railways maybe heating up faster than Curly and Raze had been anticipating, considering that they like to drop a little bit further north of Reckless, more towards the split between Cemetery and Forest Station. So the fact is, they've been completely halted. And Curly, keep in mind, so far this weekend in the upper bracket, 10 out of 11 games have been won by uncontested duos, Raze and Curly being one of them. And now, knowing that Curly is going to have to go on a recovery tour to bring Raze back into this match, the one safety net, or silver lining, I should say, that he's got going for him is the fact that they did win Game 1 MDF, so not exactly threatened as far as their position on that top 25 for the leaderboard, but still, it probably feels nice to garner that experience and really build confidence and momentum heading into next week for Grand Finals, because you have to remember that as far as Curly is concerned, his first ever FNCS Finals was last major, and they placed 35th, so he's really just, I think, looking for those metrics of improvement at this point.
Hey, well, look, we're here to witness the journey for Curly and the boys here. Back-to-back FNCS Finals is nothing to overlook. This is the start of something great, but a lot of action unfolding here. Vino and Clicks on the move here, deciding, hey, let's not go towards Miro in pink. That might be a little bit problematic later on. They go for more of a different direction there, and they land directly into another fight. So both sides are in what seems to be a bit of a standoff. On the other side of the wall here, Sonetto and DeQuented. Very familiar team here. Miro just sizing things up, trying to see if they're going to step to the wall. But of course, there's no reason for Sonetto to do it just yet. Instead, Pink and Miro want to push this fight here, going for the extra tags. Those whites right there is going to tell them everything they need to know, and the fact that they maintain control of the Cactus here. They'll likely be looking to full key this here shortly. They're checking their flank right now. Meanwhile, Vino and Clicks in a very, very contentious battle, and Vino falls again. This time, way earlier than before, not successfully making it to the end game.
But Clicks, he could come up massive here. Sigma is so incredibly low.
Wow.
But just as he takes the wall, unfortunately, the backup from Flow is too much of a problem. So Sigma, Flow, they hold strong. They've now got 2 eliminations and an ample amount of surge above that damage threshold, 951 to be exact. Almost makes you wonder how Clicks and Veno even wind up in that sort of position in the first place. Definitely some early game woes likely taking place closer towards that Sandy Steps area. But we'll just have to see how they perform in Game 3. Try and make up and recover from it. Keep in mind their Game 1 was relatively solid, so I think that they should still be in a relatively strong spot for that top 25. But Yapko, Quanti, Game 1, they made it count for making it off spawn early on. This time, we know they didn't have to deal with Blaha and Mixon at least, since they opted to drop on the opposite end of that southern side of the map. And now for Yapko to not have Quanti with them, it is going to put a lot more pressure on his shoulders as Reciprocal and G-Monster trying to deal with the likes of Bucky and Okus. And sure enough, they've got some additional helping hands off the rest of the lobby. Teams fighting inside of the Storm just draws the attention for all the players already situated inside, and Ozone Lawrence as well. looked as though Bucky and Okus just got sandwiched between two separate teams.
Yeah, Olsen and Lawrence looking pretty situated right now. I do like their odds considering that they have the extra cola here for the Storm. Yep, seems like G-Money, Reciprocal, not really liking their situation. They go for the first early disengage. Someone was obviously rewarded those elimination credits as well, so the information is in. Meanwhile, it's a little update here for Paper and Victor. I'm still upset we didn't get to see the reaction of Victor getting drop kicked by Vino when he crash matted across in game 1, but here we have it.
Like the attempt from Victor, but sometimes you've really got to make those shots count off the Huntress DMR, especially when it's coming or being shot at players in surge bases that didn't even really seem like they were aware of the fact that Victor and Paper are still bunkered up at the weapons bunker next to Mount Olympus. But depending on where this zone pulls, Victor and Paper, they could have a pretty big elevation advantage over the rest of the lobby here, MDF. So I'll have to check back in with them later, see just how far they end up moving from where they were last seen.
Japko's ready to key right now. He really has to. There wasn't any opportunities as far as those bases opening up for, you know, line of sights for him to find tags, and he's trying to see if he could bait someone out, but the team over there is not taking the opportunity here.
The problem is, I think he's
seen him on the cactus. Go ahead.
I think that he's trying to make it not seem obvious how desperate his situation actually is for Surge, and not only that, but he's about to use his last shield potion. The moment that these surge damage ticks crack his shields, I feel like Alex and Worthy are close enough to where Yapko is currently located that they might get that audio cue of his shields being broken, and if they hear that, that's going to be their cue to go. But instead, they want to fixate entirely on just rotating early enough that they don't get caught. And any backside congestion towards the zone, even going to catch the Flaming Boost Tube with a little bit of Flowberry Fizz. Yapko right behind him, though, hot on their heels. Seems as though maybe he wagers, I might have a chance here to pick off somebody, anybody, but instead finds himself a victim. One more tick is all it's going to take, and sure enough, Yapko, Quanti, their run ends now in game 2.
Definitely a good try, but in the end, they didn't really earn anything that game. They weren't contested. They didn't quite make the placements that they were looking for. So dudding out like that when you're not quite in that 60, 70 plus point threshold means that you're not safe by any means, not just yet at least. Not where you can kind of comfortably kick your feet up and relax into the next weekend for grand finals. So a lot of teams still have a lot of work to do here, like Diminished and Cam right now, who are not only below the surge, but desperately hurt for meds there. Olaf and crew trying to take advantage of what they just saw unfold was a team just land right in front of them, and they finish that duo off really quickly. They're Dynamic and Evol looking pretty solid as well, as they've gotten themselves into this zone pretty early here.
It's crazy that Cam and Diminished are the ones that get punished the most there, when Olaf lurking nearby, he's the solo in this circumstance, and yet nobody seems to spot him out. Dynamic and Evil could be in some trouble though, but checking in with what's taking place here, Mongrel, he's been making big things happen all weekend, and another nice knock just to solidify even more surge damage in their favor. Max mats though, this is a great spot to be in for Mongrel and Savage.
And do keep in mind, there's only 3 games here in the upper bracket. We'll be covering lower bracket later. So here and now, consistency is very, very important, and we cannot emphasize that enough. It is about how many points you can earn in just these 3 games. One game can basically push you through, but it has to be one massive game. Otherwise, bad performances, now's not the time for it.
Looked like Mongrel and Savage were taking note of the team up on height. Seemed like it might have been Vert and Kylie who were in a side mountain base there, but Cooper, Kanata, they've got a slightly isolated position, just kind of keeping tabs on everyone surrounding them. You can see Paper and Victor off in the distance as well. Oceana directly in front of where Cooper and Kanata are at. They've spotted that brick box, but whether or not they actually want to push it. And Victor and Paper, we saw they had such good positioning early on. They've got 2 eliminations still for Victor and only 144 above, despite some of the successful moments that we have witnessed from this duo in this secondary match. Day 3 upper bracket MDF, but enough crash pads to definitely get themselves to the front side of this next zone if they so choose.
Yeah, definitely. They're looking to set it up right now. This is why they've kind of cleared the space, removed the floorboards there, and have given them all the room in the world here to make a rotate here coming up shortly. But still a concerning position to be in. Just a little bit above this kind of safety right now. There goes the edit. There goes the rotate. They go with everyone else. They get the most distance. Real value crash pad right there.
Team Mordecai and Rigby. Just kind of skirting around. A little bit of a dead side zone rotate there. But yeah, Vert and Kylie on the high ground back to low. But again, the crash pad making it a little bit easier for these teams in terms of their mobility options. Pump, though, as a solo, no M-Pen, and incredibly low as far as that surge damage is concerned. Only 5 above. He's got to find a big shot. He needs a refresh in general for being realistic here, MDF, but finding that as a solo is so incredibly difficult. Maybe if he hangs more towards the backside of his zone, he might be able to catch someone who's trailing a little bit behind, but at the same time, he's got to act fast because now he's just fluctuating between being over and under that surge damage threshold, and there are a lot of teams surrounding him.
Yeah, we're talking about in a meta where everyone's so used to having at least Flowberry Fizz to work with, so he's just going to have a straight vanilla rotate there to come. Meanwhile, Pump's being targeted by the Storm Surge right now. He's going to go for the med kit in hopes to secure some placement points here, but I don't know how far that's going to take him. I'll be honest here. There's a player right there. This might be his best bet. 2 tags is really all you need with that DMR to stay in the game. And that might have been his main chance there.
He's just drifting further and further away from where he needs to be. Mid-ground has caught wind of where he's located, forced him to drop to ultimate low. Kind of just lurking, hoping anybody gives him a freebie, but even if he finds it, MDF, at this point, I don't even think he'll have a real opportunity to heal, and that's only if there even is any worthwhile loot from whoever he manages to drop. Jumps immediately into the next player's box he can find, but before he gets an opportunity to get a shot off, it is wraps for his run here in lobby number 2. Kingling and Silic, though, they've got Cooper off guard. Those crash pads are so vicious for giving you that overhead shot advantage.
Meanwhile, Mongrel, Mr. Savage playing up for the high ground right now. They take advantage of Cooper's and Kanata's demise there from those tags coming across, and they have themselves quite the base here. Now, this is a fragile hold. However, it still is a high ground spot. They don't want to overcommit now, as Mr. Savage has just enough to work with for the end game here. And this is what we talk about. You come up to the high ground with a DMR loadout, you just don't really have the juice to push it. However, it looks intimidating.
But the height advantage may be all that's necessary. Victor trying to see if he can make a chop happen. I'm right there with you, though. Not having that suppressive fire to actually put pressure onto the secondary height, onto those mid-ground layers. It's likely only a matter of time for teams to crash pad up. Vert, Kylie, they seem to be one of the first to do it. Paper right beside him. Kylie, though, getting kind of shredded the moment he goes up, and that's going to be an instantaneous drop back down. But Paper and Victor have successfully overthrown Savage and Mongrel for the high ground. Question is, can they hold it? gonna be forced to keep things moving forward. Victor clipped a little bit on his dissension back down. Vert trying to look every which way to see if he can get a piece out of Paper, but instead tagged up by Victor. Kylie doing what he can to try and reunite with his duo, but gets knocked the moment that he goes for that drop to the low ground.
I love how Vert was actually tracking that as well. And look, while all that was happening, Mongrel and Mr. Savage no longer seem to be in the lobby. So as we approach the top 6 right here, a name that I'm seeing pop up once again is Curly, up in this end game right now, just playing fantastic Fortnite right now. Meanwhile, Cirque and Havoc here jumping their way up into this conversation here, from a bad game 1 to a fantastic top 5 game number 2, and drop Statics there as well, and still looking to fight for it. Curly is a solo. HVAC is taken out there, so no Havoc here to back up Cirque. Cirque has to play around the outskirts. Can he get into the zone in time? He does fall there shortly, but Paper and Victor are just tearing it up from up above, and this should be the solidifying game now to send them to the grand finals here.
This is looking all Paper and Victor's game to win. Seek the last solo, but there's nothing he can do when dealing with the likes of Paper and Victor. And we pointed it out earlier on, MDF, right around that 5th zone, we saw them staked out, slightly elevated, close to Mount Olympus. And sure enough, as soon as that elevation change started to take place, they did a great job at just maintaining their spacing, staying ahead of the pack, and tarping through some of the more uncontested layers, which is crazy to think about, because the moment that they actually took to challenge height, I don't know if it was intentional to do it at the same time as another duo, but the chaos worked out entirely in their favor.
Yeah, I think they had plans to do so right before that. Remember, they were the team that broke the builds on Mongrel and Mr. Savage just moments ago. So as they were trying to set up, that other team kind of landed above them. It was Vert and company. He was, you know, kind of throwing their game plan off. And I think that worked out perfectly for them, because it allowed them to kind of hold back for a second, see what was unfolding, and look, it turned into a Victor Royale. Victor can't break a smile, gotta stay in character. He snaps right back into it, and the game win goes to Victor and Elite's Paper. Congratulations to them. A huge win right there, and I'm a big fan of Paper as well, but now I'm becoming more of a fan of Victor. Keep those cameras coming. We love seeing the reactions, so give us a moment. We're gonna simmer down for a second. When we come back, we'll have those standings.